All right. Good evening, afternoon. Sorry, I'm already into the next meeting, so I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here. So my name is Jim Godfrey. I'm the current chair of the CAC. So I'd like to call the meeting to order at 1:35. So I got this gavel thing here. So there we go. Let me start off by reading the purpose statement. The primary objective of the CAC is to ensure the capital maintenance and public transportation programs and projects approved by the PPRTA voters at the November 2nd, 2004, November 6th, 2012, and November 7th, 2017, and November 8th, 22 ballot measures are accomplished with PPRTA funds. This committee reports directly to the PPRTA Board of Directors. Thank everyone online for your time in being here. Appreciate that as well. So without further ado, Rick.
Mr. Chair, all alternates can vote at the current time, but Mr. Zamora is on the bubble and pending receipt of any information that Cindy Tompkins and Bruce Colson are joining us via Zoom, but he can vote until and unless both of those sign on.
All right, Rich, we'll get to the voting quick so you can be counted, right? All right, thank you, Rick. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda as well? Let me ask this. Are there any changes, suggested changes to the agenda that anyone needs to make? Not seeing any online. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
This is Dave Zelenak, so moved.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you joining us today. We're honored by your presence.
And it's
right.
a great delight to be here with you leading this. Thank you as always.
All right, item number 3, public comment for items not on the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, a second and a motion. I'm sorry, I'm trying to move ahead. All right, second, Russ, thank you. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Agenda is approved. Thank you. Public comment for period not on the items not on the agenda. Does anyone have anything? Any members? Anybody online? Anybody in the audience? All right, very good. Thank you. Approval of the minutes. Any comments, questions, corrections on the minutes as published? Not seeing anyone online. So I have do I have a motion to approve the minutes as published? Ed, go ahead. Who, Larry?
Go ahead and take
Ed and all right, very good. So I have a motion of approval. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the June 5th meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Lisa, financial reports.
Lisa Corey, I'm the finance manager for the PPRTA. The month that I'm reporting is for May, sales and use tax receipts. The total we got was $12,806,655, which was above our monthly budget by $60,912 or 0.5%. When we look at May of 23 compared to May of 22, we were below that by 3.5% or $466,427. Does anyone have any questions on these?
So based on news, money available in the bank, the recent transfer out of interest, do we anticipate any funding issues for the member governments over the next 6 months or so?
No, not at all. I think by the next reporting, you'll see our interest has actually already exceeded what I made available. So, and if we look at the year to date for the sales and use tax, even though last month was quite a bit lower, we're still over by 1.3 million.
Okay.
So.
All right, good news. The reason for asking that question is that here we are in August, and as we're going in, member governments, I'm sure, are working on bids and contracts and stuff for the rest of the year. And we just want to make sure that they feel confident that they putting out RFPs and stuff that we got them covered. So that's the only reason I was asking.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Lisa? All right, great. Thank you. All right, item number 6, 2023 capital maintenance and public transportation contracts, and we'll lead off with Colorado Springs. Ryan.
All right, Ryan Phipps, City of Colorado Springs. I'm filling in for Gail's tournament today, and I have 5 contracts to present. Our first one is for the Black Forest Road widening project.
Just to mention, you should have gotten a separate one, not the one in the initial mailing. Is that correct, Rick? So make sure you've got the separate deal that shows all 5 instead of the 4 from first one. So.
Yep.
Go
The
ahead.
supplement has the 5th contract that I'll mention. First contract is for the Black Forest Road widening project. This is capital A list project. This is for $69,823 for AECom. Over the course of construction, one of the adjacent properties has determined that they want to annex and develop in the city. And so the additional design services are to design their access, and we will be tracking these costs in addition to the construction costs. This is so that they don't have to come back after we finish this project and make the modifications to Black Forest Road. We will be tracking the cost of the design, acquisition, and construction, and then receiving that back as they develop the property.
Okay.
Next contract is for the El Paso Bridge over Fountain Creek replacement project. This also is a capital A project. This is for $796,729.50. This is with RJ Gleason. This is to replace the bridge. We had 5 bidders for the project, and they actually came in a little under our engineer's estimate, which is a rarity these days. But we've had success working with them on a different project within the city.
Any questions for Ryan? Okay,
Next contract or request amount is for a property acquisition on the West Fillmore over unnamed channel bridge replacement project. This is a jack and bore replacement on Fillmore, just to the west of Coronado High School. This is a land acquisition from Well Tower. It's about half an acre, and it's to provide a permanent public improvement easement access to the bridge on the downstream portion of the bridge. And because it's over $100,000, our real estate manual requires that we, one, get city council approval for the acquisition, and then we bring it to the PPRTA board for approval.
so I was just out there recently and tried to slow down and without creating a traffic problem and really kind of look at where that was. And so just to the west of Coronado, where it drops down into that valley below the purification or the sanitation plant and all. So it's that valley and the culvert that goes under it at that point going south.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Yep,
Right.
there's kind of a brushy area right
Right.
there on the side of the road. That's
Right.
where the pipe is.
okay, thank you.
Next contract is for the Las Vegas and Royer crossing relocation project. This also is a capital A list project. This is for $400,065. This is a change order for design services to cover subsurface utility engineering, some continued railroad coordination, and then I believe it also includes some design services or engineering services during construction. This is necessary in order to wrap up our coordination with the railroads.
Ryan, is there anything that you can or need to tell us about? As I mentioned to the group, I was on that advisory committee for the replacements of these two bridges that they put together. Stakeholders or whatever the group was called. But is there anything, they mentioned something at the end of that meeting about the railroad interested in accelerating the replacement of a bridge in its current location versus, is there anything that you can or need to share with us at this point that would impact what we're funding and the status of that?
So I think what you're referencing is the South Downtown Underrail project.
True, this
the
is
Tejon
different.
in Nevada. This one's
This is different.
further
Sorry.
to the east on Las Vegas.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
And then the final contract, which was a walk-on, which is in the extra packet, is for long line marking paint. This is for $121,320 with Diamond Vogel. This is to purchase roadway marking paint for us to be able to continue to maintain the streets. And this time of year, it's pretty critical to get that paint down before winter comes in.
Hey, Ryan, is that long life or long line?
Long line.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard the term long life a lot. You talk about end of life a lot here. So just a peculiar moniker I've not heard before, long line pavement markings. No worries. Happy to support it, and I think it's a project worth doing. Thank you.
On the previous project, can we edit the photo and take Randy out? No, I'm just kidding. just.
And then this photograph is from the groundbreaking at Mark Scheffel. It has Mayor, Public Works Director, City Engineer Gail Sturdivant, and a number of other representatives from the area.
Great. Sorry, I missed that. I had conflicting meetings, so I apologize. But I'm sure that getting that project started is of grave concern to the people who live and drive that every day. So
Yep, it's a big success for our office. We're happy to get that one going.
a long time coming.
Jim,
Yes, sir.
yeah, I was at that dedication and it was a good turnout. In fact, Rick was there also. And it's going to be nice to see that project get underway. It was kind of interesting. They had a map, laid out on the table showing how the project was going to be completed.
Larry, you want to turn your microphone?
Don't I have my mic on? Oh, wrong button. Sorry about that. There, am I on now?
Yeah.
Okay, just back up. I was at the dedication on Mark Scheffel of this picture. Rick was there also. One of the interesting things that I saw was that they had about the length of this table, a layout of the work that was going to be accomplished. But on the south end of the project, it was evidently taken about a year ago, and all it showed just off of Mark Scheffel, just right there at the intersection with North Carefree, was a vacant lot. And yet I pointed out to several people, I said, a year ago, there were no houses there about the same time they took this picture, evidently. Now that whole corner is just about filled up with houses. So that just gives you more traffic that's going to be on that road, both North Carefree and also Mark Scheffel. So I think that development, was a real good indicator of the traffic that's going to be on that road, and so, yes, this is a very important project that's getting underway that will help that traffic situation between North Carefree and eventually all the way up to Woodman.
Yeah, and the thing that has always amazed me about that development of Banning Lewis was beyond Mark Scheffel, there is no existing major north-south route. So as Banning Lewis continues to expand east, the traffic's got to go somewhere. They've either got to create a new north-south or that's got to all come over to Mark Scheffel as they expand that development. And so the crucial timing of this and getting that not only available to carry the current demand flow, but future flow as that development. Or we've got to come up with a future north-south connection that's going to connect to something. I don't know what that would be. Constitution on the south, Woodman on the north. I don't know what that would be, but as development continues east, that's going to become crucial. So I'm glad to see this get underway. So that's great. Good news. All right, any questions for the city on their contracts as presented?
Jim, I have one comment.
Go ahead, Steve.
Representing FHU, I need to abstain
Okay,
because we're on the Las Vegas project.
okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Anybody online? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the city's request for the 5 contracts as presented?
So moved.
Thank you very much. Second? Rick Hoover, second. Okay, great. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. Okay, item 6B, El Paso County. Josh.
Good afternoon, Josh Palmer, County Engineer, El Paso County. I have 2 items to bring before you today, both of them for Highway 105. The first is a contract in the amount of $1,589,616.11 to HDR. This is to provide construction or design support during construction. So phase A is essentially I-25 to Lake Woodmore Drive. Design is complete. Project has been advertised. Construction, a notice to proceed has been given, and construction is, we're on the verge of actually having dirt moving on the project. So this would be to allow us to have the design support during construction from HDR. And the second item, also for Highway 105, but not specific to phase A, is for property acquisition for the LDS Church on the north side of Highway 105. This is for permanent take and temporary easements. And that's in the amount of $105,300. Any questions on
Okay, Rick's got a question and then
On that property, on that acquisition of property. The appraisal was 102,003. And the owner indicates, oh, I'm sorry. The appraisal of 102,003. The owner feels like it's worth 60,000, which is really quite confusing to the difference in the two. But the other one is we settled for 105,003. If the appraisal is 102,3, the owner feels like it's worth 60, and we pay him 105,003.
Now, I'm not, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, I'm not a lawyer, definitely not a real estate attorney. But there are laws that the county, or not the county, but everybody has to follow when it comes to a fair market value and appraisal. So it doesn't happen often that the owner's appraisal comes in less than our internal appraisal. However, if we were to identify the cost that exceeds what the owner appraises it at, we are typically bound by law to offer that at a minimum.
Well, I understand that, but we appraised it at 102,003, but we're paying him 105,000.
There are minor administrative costs that go on along with that as well. So it's usually where there's usually a couple $1,000s in administrative costs that go on top of the appraised value.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the same question I had. I saw that where, it was 102,000 and the owner was 60,000, and all of a sudden we got up to 105. And I guess I still don't fully understand, Josh, how we
I don't either.
got up to 105,000. If the owner is saying that it's only, worth 60,000.
So during the valuation process, each side is allowed the opportunity to provide an independent appraisal. However, if we are bound by our appraisal value at a minimum to offer, so even if most times 99% of the time their valuation comes in a lot higher than ours. However, we are bound to offer at the minimum what our appraisal comes in at. So in the rare circumstance where their appraisal for whatever reason is less than ours, we are still at a minimum required to offer what our appraisal comes in at. And oftentimes to support transparency and fair determination of value, there are often variables that an appraiser from the owner side doesn't necessarily consider. It could be anything from number of trees, maturity of trees, future value of certain pieces of the land. I mean, there's a number of variables that often go into the appraisal that we encourage independent appraisers to consider that they don't often do. So like I said, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, we are required to offer at a minimum of what our appraisal comes in at. And then you usually have to tack on usually a couple $1,000s in administrative fees. We are required to pay for their appraisal as well, which is typically $2,000 to $3,000. So my guess is that's where the additional cost comes in between the 102 and the 105.
Okay, so yeah, I think you just answered, but let me repeat it from in my words. So the appraisal of 102 is of the land, but doesn't account for administrative cost of executing and passing that along and doing that. And that would, in general terms, describe the difference between the 102 and 105.
Correct.
Does that make sense, Rick? Okay, yep, okay, all right. We'll make sure that I understood it properly as well.
The one other question is that you're required by law to the county appraisal is the minimum that gets offered to the owner.
That's the baseline. Yeah. Usually it's not an issue because ours comes in less.
Yeah, most of the time I
Yeah.
have to agree with you.
Yeah.
We see these and, it would be 2,000 and the owners would be 200,000. So
Yeah.
it was kind of surprising to see this particular one, come in this way.
Yep. So in the form of transparency, we have to share what our valuation is, and that usually is the baseline for what we're legally obligated to offer.
Is that county rules, state law, or?
Pretty sure that's state law.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
I also think that maybe that church ought to reevaluate their financial people.
Yeah, they're asking way too much, way too less for what they could get, right? Yeah, I hear you. All right, any other questions for Josh? Anybody online? Anybody in the room? Not seeing on anywhere, so do I have a motion to approve the county's 2 projects as presented?
Larry Tobias moves to approve the 2 projects for El Paso County as presented by Josh.
I'll second Steve Murray.
Steve, thank you very much. Okay, any other further discussion? Not seeing any, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Not hearing any, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7, member governments, City of Colorado Springs Transit Services.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the CAC.
Welcome, Director.
Thank you. Line Rail Transit Services Division Manager. In your packet is our monthly report with the June information, with June ridership and some project highlights. As you recall, June is our first month of free fare this year, and we are seeing amazing numbers. So I'm very happy to share that information today. It's under the ridership update section. 41%, our ridership in June this year, we have seen an increase of 41% over May the same year and 53% over June 2022. Of course, June 2022, we were not able to offer free fare participating in this program. Well, what's more exciting is our June membership was actually 10% higher compared to June 2019. So this is a record month that we're very happy to report that we are not only caught up with pre-COVID ridership, we're actually exceeding that ridership by 10%. Of course, free helps. we continue to see even higher ridership for July. We'll continue to monitor August. We're trying to get rider feedback and see if there are things hopefully we can help to retain that ridership, and that is our goal.
Let me ask a question on your surveys of riders and getting feedback. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what's the term that you use for people that dependent riders, or right? So are the questions that you're asking them such things as
Household income.
household
is
income?
one, yeah.
What about like proximity to where you need to go, or how far do you have to travel to get to a bus stop, or how long, if it's a 30-minute head time versus 15-minute or an hour or whatever? Are you capturing any information in terms of demand and what the need is for that
The
group?
demographic and yes,
And-
trip purpose. You know what? That's a really good question. We are actually wrapping up our 2023 rider survey. How about I bring that back? Hopefully we'll wrap it up, have a final report next month, and we'll share some of the highlights.
Yeah, I think that so that's the one group in the dependent group kind of thing. And then the other group that I'm not aware that's being surveyed are those folks that are outside the existing core service that we offer. And I know that public opinion and desires and needs change, but are the people in the Briar Gates and the residential areas out there, would they use transit or have their kids use transit if it was available in them? We've become a very car dependent society and people driving because it's convenient. And so in order to judge the need for expanding, you got to kind of know what the public opinion is and perception and stuff is. And so I was just curious if any of that's being captured. So
Yeah, let me get the information
That's
once
fine.
we have it
No
and share
rush.
that information, but very good comment.
no
Thank you.
rush. Thanks.
On page 3, in that table showing year-to-date information, as of June, we saw on the fixed route side about 1.25 million trips, which is about 80%. Again, this is cumulative information from January through June, which is about 80% compared to 2019. Same time last year, we saw about 58%. Okay.
Well, we're almost up to the whole year of 2019 boardings. I mean, right? I mean, am I reading that right? 1,255,000 versus 1,000,005 for the whole year, and 1,255,000 through June. Is that
So this is
in the boardings column?
January through June.
Is the 2019 for the whole year or January through June of 19?
Through June of 19. I think
Okay.
that was actually one comment from the CAC, making sure we have apples to apples.
Okay, great.
comparison.
Thank you.
Under the transit highlight section, our fall service change, we closed the public comment period. We received some decent number of public comments and we looked at them. We're making one tweak to Route 37 inbound trip. We will share more information in our next packet. The final service change will be released in hopefully 2 to 3 weeks to the public. Our current Title VI plan requires 30-day minimum time frame for public notification once the final decision is made. So once we have that information, we'll include it for the September report. Transit operations / bus storage / campus expansion project. So that is a construction project that we just completed last week. We have the temporary occupancy certificate and we're working with the contractors to move the bus drivers and our buses over to the new garage. We try to have a ribbon cutting ceremony, but the summer schedules are just crazy for everyone. So instead of a ribbon cutting, we're working with PPACG staff. We have a open house for our transit reps and maybe staff at that time. This is a great project benefiting not only our fixed assets, we will be able to park those buses overnight in the garage instead of out in the open. It helps starting up the vehicles. We don't have to keep them running for a few hours in cold weather, and the drivers are going to benefit from that as well. Instead of walking into a freezing bus, they will be walking into a bus parked in the garage. With the expanded room, the drivers will have access to more training space. They will be able to have more locker rooms, brand new building, and some coordination efforts will be easier. And we also have a restroom designated for drug testing purpose. So there are a lot of good features in this bus storage building. It is close to it. The final costs are not in yet, but we're looking at close to the entire project between $16 to $17 million. We are using city property that was transferred from operations and maintenance within Public Works, using that as an in-kind match to bring in federal money. And the rest of the local match was a cash match using PPRTA dollars. So thank you. The facility is able to accommodate 72 buses, with every single bus with the option to accommodate electric bus down the road. Have and go with Metro. Once the free fare, once we get through June, July, August free fare, we are ready to promote the mobile ticketing. With that mobile ticketing, we considered, okay, here's a mobile ticketing app that you can use. However, you have to have either a credit card, a bank account, or a phone. So what do we accommodate the need for people who are unbanked or who don't have a cell phone? So the vendor actually called Masabi, they have an option called Income, where you can buy and load your card at like 7-Eleven retail stores, and they have a huge network of retail stores available. We also have similar to a card, similar to smart card option that you can purchase and load money to the card, so you don't have to have a phone to use the app. So those are some of the features that we will include once we're ready for the full launch.
Good.
With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Rick.
I'm impressed with the service hours. Oh, by the way, congratulations for the directorship, and it is well deserved. I like apples to apples, and I noticed in your service hours to your boardings actually went up substantially. It went from 11.57 to 15.5. That's impressive. And so congratulations on that. The other thing is this fare cap. Have you had experience with that before?
I have, because we've never had that here, but I've had that experience at other cities when I traveled. So basically what it does is our one ride trip on the fixed route bus is $1.75. Then you go to grocery store, you come back and you pay another one. Then you go do something else, then you have to keep paying. However, for that day, we have a day pass option. Then it's going to cap you at the day pass maximum of $4 instead of keep paying that $1.75 times 3 times 4 times 5. We also have a monthly pass. So as long as there is a time blocked pass option, you will be capped. You will not be paying more than that day pass or monthly pass.
That's great stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, so if I understand that, so if I'm going to use a bus 3 times in a day, and that the cumulative cost of those 3 times reaches the max price of the day pass, it stops charging me at that.
Correct.
That's cool.
Yes. We love that feature.
Yeah, that's good. Well, the benefit of that, I would imagine, would encourage people that may otherwise not take it because it's their fourth or fifth ride or sixth ride for the day, knowing that they could just, it's going to be capped and they could ride it as many times as they need after they reach that cap.
Yep, and the system is calculating that for you, so you don't have to keep.
Oh, that's great. Awesome.
And swipe card is neat too.
Yeah.
And the swipe card where you just swipe it as you mount. That's great.
Yeah. Tap and go. Thank you.
Any questions, Flan? Anybody online? Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, item 7B and 7C, they're Colorado Springs monthly change order and property acquisition, as well as the counties. Their information only. Is anyone got any questions about any transactions on either of those reports? Anybody online? Okay, not seeing one. Their information, we'll move on. Item number 8A, report of recent board actions. Mr. Rick.
My memorandum is in the packet and I'm available for questions if you have any.
Where is it?
Go ahead, Ann.
I can't see that. Oh, I see. Thank you.
I don't recall, Rick, I don't recall that there was anything from our discussion with the board last month that I need to highlight, was there? Other than what's captured in the memo?
I agree.
Yeah, okay. I don't think so either. Okay. I've forgotten I normally bring my paperwork from the meeting, like my notes on it. Okay. 8B, draft policy number 33. Rick, you gonna cover that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this draft was reviewed by the CAC last month. There were some suggested revisions, and I preferred those to our board attorney, Jennifer Ivy. And the red line version is attached, as well as the final version with the red lines included. So it's back to the CAC for review and consideration.
I will say that the board appreciated our comments and review last month on this. So it accepted our recommendation to postpone to come back and do this. So they appreciated us taking an in-depth look at this. So let's say that for what it's worth.
And just as an FYI, we've been working on board policy 32 and 33 at the same time. I originally thought 32 would be resolved and through the CAC and the board first, but it's not. So just an FYI that particularly if it goes through the CAC and the board this month, 33 will be approved ahead of 32. 32, you'll recall, is on the definition of completely funded. So just an FYI.
Okay. Any comments from any of the members on the revised policy 33 as presented today?
Mr. Chair, Carlos Perez does have his hand raised online.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carlos, didn't see it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just thought something noteworthy that was reported in the media last week. There was a court case from the El Paso County District Court that ordered these business improvement districts to provide more transparency when it was related to construction contracts. And that was just reported in the Gazette last week. And I just thought, I don't believe it affects this particular policy, but the impression I get from reading the article or reading comments like this or this particular court cases is that the citizens do want to see more transparency from these special districts. And the fact that our IGA does have, I think, the checks and balances in there as reviewing receipts and so forth is a good thing. But I'm going to just say that right now, in light of that court case, this IGA is really doesn't have anything there as far as financial disclosures on the applicant. So it's silent on that. I'm not really concerned, but I think if we do have somebody else from a special district that does come forward with a proposal to enter into an IGA, I think we're just going to need to do our due diligence and do it a little bit better than what we did with Copper Ridge. Those are my comments.
Just a question, would that transparency, instead of being with the Metropolitan District and the RTA, should that transparency occur between the managing member, such as Colorado Springs or El Paso County, and that transparency between the Metro District and the sponsoring and or managing agency versus the RTA as an entity?
You're asking me that question?
Well, I'm just throwing it out there, is that do we need to see, as the RTA, do we need to see that transparency, or do we need to know that it exists between the sponsoring and controlling agency versus us as an agency? That was my question. And
Yeah, my answer to that, I thought about that. I think the way our board policy 3 does provide the appropriate protections for the authority, the RTA. So I'm satisfied with that. The question about transparency is there's another party to this, and these are actually these taxpayers, which is how it was characterized in these special districts. And they're asking for transparency, and they would like to have the city of Colorado Springs to go ahead and provide a better job as far as disclosures for financial records related to construction. The case that went before the court was related to that the Metro District was not willing to provide that information to these taxpayers within the district. So there's another party there. I think really it's the other party, the people who are paying into the taxing district. That's what they have to address. On our side, it would be, I think, in the best interest of us to be able to have that information about the financials and this transparency be there as part of our agreements, as part of our IGA. The fact it's not in this board policy 33 doesn't give me concern, but if it does come back before the CAC and board again, I'm going to strongly advocate that we understand who the applicant is and their financial position and what they're disclosing, not just to us, but to the general public, since they are a government agency in the eyes of this court case.
okay, thank you for those comments.
Yep.
Randy?
Yeah, I would fully support that.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know that we have a lot of people in the public that love to tune in to the CAC meetings because they've got nothing better to do on a Wednesday. But I don't want to give them the impression that this isn't transparent. It's very transparent.
Right.
These two individuals are going to look at all those dollar amounts and determine if they're reimbursable. I'm sure Rick and his team do the same thing. How those metro districts in question were set up and how those invoices were authorized were not necessarily transparent. There was a lump sum amount. It was checked by an engineer, and that engineer, whoever they were, said, yes, these numbers are good. So this board and the PPRTA board have a lot more authority to really dig into those details. So I don't want anyone to get the impression that they're going to give us a bill for $140 million and say you're good to go. There's going to be a lot more detail that goes with that. So,
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, I hope I didn't give that erroneous impression.
Exactly. That's what I don't want to get that message.
I can tell you, I do know for a fact that it was addressed in the IGA that transparency was actually the IGA that we approved with Copper Ridge actually provided that. And I'm satisfied we went above and beyond what this board policy 33, it provides absolutely no requirements on understanding who the applicant is in this case. It just says, okay, the applicant will come forward, and that's pretty much it. It's a very, and by the way, the fact that it's narrowly written the way it is, I do support it. But again, it doesn't provide any of these things, any of this transparency requirements board policy 33 is silent. Again, not a problem. I think we can be silent. The fact that we have IGA that is took those extra steps. I think that's good. But I can tell you, when we go into, here's the thing. We're going to have a partnership with these special districts, and they have a bad reputation. We just have to go in eyes wide open. And I think that if this was to come up again, that let's just make sure we do that on behalf of the citizens. That's all I'm asking.
Yep. Okay, good point. And I think, Brandy, thank you for clarifying that, because I think that's important. Where the policy may not address it specifically, the IGA is very clear. Okay, good point, Carlos. Thank you. Any other further discussion on policy 33? This is a recommendation to the board. So do I have a motion to recommend to the board that they approve the policy as presented? Steve?
Second.
Rick? We got a nominate. We have a thing in and a second. Motion, yeah, there we go. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, not seeing any. Very good. Agenda topics for next meeting. Any burning issues with anybody that you want to bring up? Lan, I think thank you for when it's available, and no rush for next month, but when you've analyzed and looked at those writer surveys, I think some feedback. I know that the members of the board would be interested in that for sure. So thank you for that. Any communications by members, Rick? Oh, go around the room. Yes, ma'am. Anybody? Communications by anybody? Anything you burning desire? Okay, Rick.
I've sent an email to all the CAC members about the proposed name tags that we can order for you if you want one. If you do want one, please see me, call me, or send me an email on the exact spelling of your name. For example, is it Dave or David, etc. So and Lawrence or Larry, Richard or Rick. So please let me know. And then when we've heard from everybody, then we'll order the batch.
And I would just say that I think, Larry, that was a great suggestion. I think that I've often thought the same thing. Sometimes when we do represent the CAC in a public forum, it's nice to let them know that who we are and that we are engaged, that we are there supporting these things. And as the name tag is a very inexpensive way to do that. And
it sort of came to my mind, that dedication, Jim, because there was a couple people from the contractor, asked me who I was representing.
Right.
Right. So with a name tag, that would have answered it without explaining to them, or they wouldn't have had to ask the question. So that's why I recommended to Rick to bring the issue up, that I think and like you say, I think it would be good, when we're in public presentations like this.
Yeah, great.
My answer to that gatekeeper gentleman was, I sign all the checks for this project.
Yeah. I signed your paycheck. Yeah. No. And then I would just like to bring up that, just so you guys know that Fountain had a town meeting. What's today? Wednesday, Tuesday? Was it last night? Monday night. Fountain had a town meeting on Monday night to present some facts and information to their, I'll explain it, their citizenry about joining the RTA, PPRTA. And so I went down with Rick for that meeting to be able to answer any questions that came up. And so the three people that were there, other than staff and city, there was a couple guys that were fairly vocal, one guy vocal, but some good questions. But I guess they're having another meeting in the middle of August.
Yes, the 14th.
14th of August. That will be a hybrid meeting. And hopefully they will have more participation, but 6 o'clock on a Monday night wasn't it for most of the populace. So but anyway, I just wanted to let you know, I did go down to that meeting with Rick to be able to answer any questions that they might have had about the RTA. So just letting you know what's going on. Any other comments, questions? Well, let's do this. We're less.
Mr. Chair, just a special thanks to Ryan. I'm not sure if he's still there or not for standing in for Gail, but this is not one of our record meetings, but at 1 hour sharp. I'm sure there's no connection between Gail not being there and Ryan.
Yeah, pick on her while she's not here to defend herself. Yeah, I get it. All right.
Okay. Just kidding, but no, great job by Lan, Ryan, and all the staff as always. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. All right, well, let's call the meeting adjourned, and we're less than an hour, people. That's awesome. So I'll put the pressure on the board next week. Thank you, everyone, for your time and participation. I appreciate it.